Imagine a small village where the crops are dying. Everyone has no water. People are desperate. They are struggling to survive. But one boy refuses to give up. He scavenges old batteries, wires, and scraps. He starts building something no one believes can work. Night falls, but he keeps going, dreaming of saving his family and the village. By morning, what he built changes everything. Water flows back into the fields. Hope comes alive. This is the story of one clever boy who fought all odds to bring life back to his home. Alright, so the story kicks off in a quiet little village tucked away in South Africa, where people are working on a dry patch of land trying to grow whatever they can. Everything feels normal until one man suddenly collapses from a heavy heart attack and dies on the spot. His brother, a farmer working right beside him, is stunned and can't understand how everything changed in a single moment. The villagers gather around and start handling everything that follows a death in their community, performing the rituals and supporting the family the best they can. The farmer went back home carrying the pain in his chest, trying not to break down in front of his wife, his daughter, and his son William. William wasn't just smart, he had a natural spark, the kind of kid who could fix any broken radio he found. He spent his days repairing radios for neighbors because that was the only thing that made sense to him. But when he reached school, the principal lined everyone up and said that anyone who failed to pay their fees would be sent home. That hit William hard because he already knew his family had no money and he knew how badly he wanted to stay in school. William knew why things were falling apart at school. His dad was struggling financially and the fees hadn't been paid in a long time. His class teacher, who secretly liked William's sister, pulled him aside and said he needed to pay soon or he'd be asked to leave. William stayed quiet because he already knew the truth. His dad simply didn't have that kind of money. Still, he wanted to study more than anything. Books and machines were the only things he truly cared about, while his mom hoped he would stop dreaming and start helping his dad in the fields. When William tried studying that night, the whole room was dark, so he went to his mother and asked for a little oil to light his lantern. But she refused and told him she couldn't waste any oil just for studying. They had to save whatever was left for daily chores. The next day, after school, William walked straight to the junkyard, a place full of old wires, broken machines, and scraps of metal. While digging through the piles, he found an old lamp and a battery that still had a little life left in it, and an idea instantly sparked in his mind. William started thinking he could use the lamp and battery to light a bulb and finally study properly at night. The very next day, a group of strangers arrived in the village, promising heaps of money to anyone who agreed to their deal. But there was a catch. They wanted all the trees in the fields cut down. The village chief stepped forward and explained that the trees were crucial. They protected the crops from floods and fast-flowing water. If the trees were removed, the entire farmland would be destroyed. William's dad listened carefully and nodded in agreement, realizing the chief was absolutely right and that their land had to be protected no matter what. But the rest of the farmers went ahead and signed the papers. The documents allowed the strangers to cut down the trees in their fields. Poverty had hit the village hard and everyone was desperate for money. Soon the work started and the trees began to fall one by one. That very night, William went to his dad and told him he needed money to pay his school fees. His dad sighed and said, "Son, I don't have the money right now. You'll have to wait until the harvest is finished before I can get your fees paid." William nodded, but the worry in his chest didn't go away. His dad told him the money would only come after the harvest and then he could pay his school fees. Hearing this, William felt a heavy worry settle in his chest. The next day, walking to school with his friend, he noticed his teacher's bicycle parked nearby. There was a light attached to it. William realized he needed the battery from that light, but looking closer, he saw there wasn't any battery at all. The light was wired to the wheel so that when the bike spun, the light turned on. He stared at it, puzzled, trying to understand how the light could even glow like that. When William went to school that morning, every single kid who hadn't paid their fees for months was lined up and sent out. Hearing this, William felt a heavy knot of worry in his chest. He really wanted to keep learning, to study and grow, but there seemed to be no way forward. Meanwhile, the rain came down hard, pounding the village with relentless force. Back at his dad's farm, water quickly filled the fields, and before long, the entire crop was ruined, leaving his family with nothing. Seeing this, William's dad grew deeply worried because there wasn't much food or supplies left at home. He decided to visit a close friend and explained, "I have some money saved, and I want to use it to protect the trees so my farm doesn't get ruined by the flood." His friend shook his head and said, A severe drought is coming soon. Even in Kenya, floods have already struck. Don't spend your money yet. It will be more useful in a time of real need. With no other help coming, William's dad felt the weight of his responsibility pressing down harder than ever. William trudged back home under the harsh summer sun. The fields were dry and cracked, the soil baked and barren. With no water anywhere, their crops had completely failed and the farm looked lifeless. Determined not to give up, he went back to the junkyard, sifting through piles of old metal scraps and broken gadgets. There he found 2 batteries, but they were completely dead. Still, he refused to quit. He carefully started tinkering with them, trying different connections, hoping to get the old pump working. If he succeeded, he could finally bring water back to the farm and save what was left of their livelihood. William wanted to make sure his dad's fields got water even during the harsh summer. He quietly went to school, and after class, he approached his teacher asking how the light on the bicycle could glow without a battery. The teacher explained that it was an electric dynamo that produced energy from motion. William didn't have enough money to buy one, so he asked if he could try building it himself. The teacher nodded and told him that the library had plenty of books with step-by-step instructions. William felt a spark of hope and decided he would spend every free moment learning and trying until he could make it work. As William walked through the library shelves, he saw rows of books about energy and electricity. Each book held pieces of knowledge that could help him build the electric dynamo, and a wave of excitement ran through him. He spent hours reading and imagining the machine he would make. A few days later, the president came to the village. The village chief stood before him, explaining the struggles they were facing and how desperately they needed money. But the president's men dragged the chief aside and beat him badly because they only cared about votes and didn't want to listen to the real problems of the people. Poverty had taken over the village so completely that William's dad had no choice but to take the tin roof off their house and carry it to the market to sell just to get some money. On the radio, the villagers heard that the price of grain and other essentials was about to rise sharply because the country was running dangerously low on supplies. People grew anxious and worried, but the real story was much darker. It was all part of a government scheme. Corrupt officials were lying to the villagers, manipulating the situation, and filling their own pockets while families struggled to survive. William's dad went along with the people who were chanting against the government to show support. Not long after they left, 2 trucks arrived in the village carrying a large supply of grain. The government had sent it for the villagers to sell at very low prices. William's mom gave him some money and asked him to go get some of the grain. As he left, a few people sneaked into their house and stole all the grain they had stored from their fields. When William came back, there was not a single grain left in the house. His mom started crying, feeling helpless and sad. After a while, William came back home carrying a small ration, and soon his dad returned too. He said, "Now we can only eat once a day and we have to make this ration last for several days." William's whole family felt trapped because neither the government was helping them nor was there any rain to save their crops. That night, William went to his sister and said, "I know you love my teacher, and I will help you keep this secret safe. I want you to ask her for the dynamo on her bike. With that, I can run the motor pump and get water flowing all the way to the fields so our crops don't die." But the next day, when William comes back carrying firewood, he sees that his sister has run away from home. His parents are sitting there crying their hearts out, completely distraught. When he walks into his room, he notices that she left the dynamo for him still attached to the teacher's bike. That means even though she ran away with the teacher, she made sure William had what he needed to save their fields. Now William teams up with his friends and connects the dynamo to a small windmill, a wheel that spins with the wind. The dynamo powers a radio and all the kids cheer with excitement. After that, they head to the junkyard and start collecting all sorts of materials they can use. William knows that to get the water pump running, he'll need a much bigger windmill, which also means he'll need a sturdy bike to spin it. So he goes to his dad and shows him how even his small windmill and dynamo can power a radio, proving that his idea works. But his dad barely reacts, not realizing yet how clever William really is. After that, William tells his dad that he wants to build a bigger windmill. He explains that with it, he can run the water pump and make sure their fields get water in every season. But for that, he will need his dad's bicycle, and if he uses it, the bike will have to be cut and can never be used again. Hearing this, his dad gets furious. He smashes William's small windmill and says that he is wasting his time on useless things. From now on, William will work with him in the fields, and there's no choice but to follow his dad and spend the day working in the hot sun. Now William's dad and the whole village were struggling with hunger. When William came back home, he saw that all his friends were leaving the village. He called out to them and said that they had to stay. They would build a big windmill that could run the water pump and make sure their fields got water in every season so they could grow crops no matter what. William and his friends went back to his dad and asked for the bicycle. But his dad scolded them all and chased them away. Then they learned that William's grandmother had passed away. His mother was devastated and could hardly hold back her tears. On top of that, William's dog had died from hunger, leaving him heartbroken. He collapsed to the ground, crying uncontrollably, feeling the weight of everything around him. Even his father realized they couldn't just sit and wait. He went to William, placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "I don't see any other way. If you truly believe you can get the water pump running and bring water to the fields, then you can take my bicycle. You'll need it for this, and I trust you can make it work." Then William took his father's bicycle and had it cut so it could become part of the windmill. The entire village joined in and worked together to build it. They sank huge wooden beams deep into the ground and set up a massive windmill. The bicycle was attached to it, and as the windmill started spinning, the bicycle will turned along with it, connected to the dynamo. Using this setup, they could now charge the battery. With the windmill running, everyone in the village joined in, tending to the fields and making sure the crops got water. Hoping water would finally flow, William and the villagers waited. After a short while, the battery charged and the motor started running. Suddenly, water began reaching the fields and everyone working there froze in amazement. Happiness overflowed. They could hardly believe their eyes. No one had ever expected this to happen, but William, with his mind, determination, and hard work, made it happen. He proved not only his genius, but also how far belief and effort can take someone. Everyone could see just how intelligent he truly was. Crying, William's dad hugged him tightly, feeling the relief of seeing his son safe and determined. After a little while, it was shown that not just their fields, but all the villagers' fields were turning green with thriving crops. Without William, none of the villagers would have survived the harsh season. Now they could grow crops in any weather. William climbed up on the windmill once again and looked out over the entire village, watching the fields stretch green and full of life. Joy and pride filled his heart. Word of his hard work and intelligence spread quickly, and soon everyone in the village knew what William had achieved. As soon as the news of William's achievement reached his school, he was awarded a lifetime scholarship. This meant he could continue his studies without worrying about money ever again. And with that, the true story of William's life comes to an end. For more exciting movie explanation videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and type "next" in the comments below. Thanks for watching.